week on Horse Talk TV, jousting at Ironfest in the Blue Mountains. Ride a dressage test and never leave the stable. Join us at the Bentley Cup, the Melbourne Cup of Polo held at Richmond, New South Wales.
Special day for Horse Talk TV. We're up here at Ironfest, which is at Lithgow in the Blue Mountains. Ironfest is a medieval fair where they reenact all sorts of lifestyle, sports and crafts from the Middle Ages. We're privileged enough to be watching historically accurate jousting, and the jousters have come from as far as Europe and New Zealand, of course here in Australia, to compete at an international jousting competition. And as you can see, it's cold, it's wet and it's windy, so even the weather's authentically medieval. I'm talking to Mac Ross. Mac's the organiser of Ironfest. Hi Mac.
Hi Katie, how you going?
Mac, this is an amazing festival. Tell me about the history. How did it come about and what are some of the events and the displays that we can see here?
Look, this is our 10th year. We started out as a very humble little event up in Main Street in Lithgow. It involved about 24 artists and a few performers, and it was very successful. We were very pleased with the display. It's doubled in size for the first 5 years. In the last 5 years, it's grown at about 30%. It's a collage of events. There's from sculpture to paintings, drawings, a lot of reenactment, and the Colonial Battle, of course, is an amazing event. The crown jewels, if you like, of the whole show is definitely the jousting, and you can tell from the amount of people in the stadium there today.
And the reenactments are very authentic, aren't they?
Look, yeah, those guys, they're total fanatics. They do it for nothing. They spend hours and hours and hours making their equipment and sewing their clothes and getting everything right. They study how things were made in the past and they reproduce as best as possible.
Rod, you're here competing at Ironfest and you and Michelle are professional jousters. That's awesome. How did you get into it?
It just sort of happened. I met a friend years and years ago. He had horses, we had horses. We had an interest in medieval history and we just decided, yeah, we could do that.
So when you started, was there any groups doing jousting? How did you learn to actually do the manoeuvres and get the equipment together?
There was some jousting here in Australia in the 70s, the Harris brothers, but they'd long since finished when we started. This is the days before the internet, so we couldn't just punch it into Google and bring it up. We looked at every single book we could find, and there weren't many back then, and we just reinvented it. All the equipment is authentic. It's copies of original pieces of armour for the most part, because we use authentic armour, so it weighs the same, it moves the same. So
ladies can compete, and do they compete with the men?
They do. Women can compete. There aren't enough of them for a women's division, so they jump in with the boys. I mean, my wife Michelle's Australasian champion. She beat 7 men for that title, and they don't want us to go easy on them, and we don't go easy on them. It's a bit of a fallacy that your medieval war horse was this massive horse. They aren't. I mean, I'm riding a little Anglo-Arab and she's 14 hands, and she's about right. Back in the day, she would have been worth a lot of money because she's an Arab. They had to get them all the way from the Holy Land and from Spain. At home, we have a PRE, and when you look at him and you look at manuscript depictions of horses, that's what it is. That's him. Pure Raza Española, they're Andalusians, they're the pure Spanish horses, so Andalusian, Lusitanos, Lipizzanias. Well, I mean, this is a late 13th, early 14th war saddle. It's got these things, they're called archons. They wrap around your hips, around your buttocks to hold you in, and it's got the pommel, large pommel plate to protect your groin.
Talisian, you're a lady jouster. My God, how did you get into it? How did you learn to do it, and what got you started?
I've always loved horses, and I've worked with them quite continuously through my life, and started doing historical reenactment when I was 21, and found a group that was doing the jousting, and decided I loved it and worked really hard at it for the next 7 years.
Where have you competed, and do you compete against men when you're jousting?
Yes, I compete. It's an open field. When you're on the field, there's no second divisions for women. It's all in brawl, so to speak. I've been to New Zealand 4 times, Sweden twice, and I've had the chance joust in France last year, as well as Poland.
I would imagine you're riding other people's horses when you're doing that. Does that make it harder to, I suppose, be successful overseas?
Yes, it does add to the skill base. You need to be able to jump on a horse on Friday and get its trust and do the job so that by Saturday you're up and ready for the show and the competition.
Tell me about this magnificent boy that you're riding.
This is Fenris. He's a bit likes a good head rub. Fenris is a Percheron stallion. He was bred by Fiona Shealy, and he'll be 5 in October. And this is his first tournament. He hasn't done the joust before. We've done a lot of training with him, but he's taking up the tilt for the first time this time, and we hope he does really well.
Well, for the actual competitive joust, we're going to be running on what's called a tilt line, and these came in around the 1420s. But we use them anyway, simply to stop the horses running into each other. And usually what will happen is you'll smack knees on the way past if you're too close. Skill at arms is where everybody starts, but we teach them how to use swords, lances, weapons from horseback. So you'll come along, you're cutting what's known as at the Moor's Head, the cabbage, an apple, a thrusting target. You thrust the sword into the target, and you're scored on where you hit. We'll be doing the quintain, which is that spinning shield on a spinning arm. So as many times as you can hit that and make it spin, you get points for that. And we'll be picking up little rings, 3-inch, 75mm rings on the point of a sword as we canter on through.
Mac, is it always going to be held here at Lithgow? Is this always the venue for Ironfest?
I'd like to think so. It's a great venue here, and it's a very Lithgow show. Like, quite often we say it's a little bit like Newtown meets Lithgow. But we've got a vision. We've got a Cirque du Soleil model of a vision that we wish to pursue. We've been talking to people in Canberra for a couple of years now about having an event there in September, sometime around September.
Now, you guys are doing some pretty authentic stuff out there. Is the injury rate high for the riders? And what about the horses?
Well, on the horses first, I've been at this now for 15 years and never hit a horse. It is a different story for the riders. We wear real armour, but we're still taking big impacts into our chest and heads. And it's bruises, it's the odd mild concussion, broken bones in your hand, dislocated shoulders. That's pretty much it.
So I bet no insurance company wants to touch you.
No, well, it's a contact sport. So, they cover footballers and race car drivers, and how many of those poor buggers, get really badly injured. We've never, touched wood.
Fantastic. And how would people go about if they wanted to really learn to do jousting? Is there clubs where they can learn? How would they find out about it?
There's a few of us scattered around the place in Australia, so they can either contact Elysian in Queensland, they can contact us at jousting.com.au.